Today, we're diving into something a little dark, a little theatrical. It's a journey into the heart of what stops us from creating. We're going to explore a set of old parables that act as a kind of cautionary tale for any artist, mapping out the forces that can literally trap our creative spirit. And it all starts with a simple question.
Think about that for a second. What happens when we try to grab that brilliant, fleeting spark of an idea and lock it down? When we try to control it, to possess it, to make it ours and ours alone? Well, that question is at the very center of what we're talking about today. And the answer, well, it's pretty chilling.
Our guide through this landscape is a figure with a pretty heavy name, the Faustbusch Übermensch. But look, this isn't some monster hiding under your bed. It's better to think of it as a personification, a name for those forces inside all of us that push us towards stagnation. This isn't some demon you go out and slay. It's a map to our own deepest creative fears.
So our story plays out in 4 acts. And Act 1 kicks off with the very first mistake we often make on the road to creative decay, that simple but totally fatal desire to own inspiration, to possess the spark.
This comes from the parable of the shattered reflection. So picture this, you have this shadow creature and it's just mesmerized, watching the beautiful, endless dance of a mythical dragon deer in a mirror. But instead of just being inspired, instead of wanting to join the dance, it gets overwhelmed by this need to have that beauty. So it leaps through the mirror, shattering the glass to try and grab the light for itself. And that destructive act, it has a name: static control. This is the great enemy of what the source material calls the spirit of becoming. For any creator out there, this is the root of so much struggle. It's that impulse to freeze a perfect flowing moment in time, thinking that if you can just hold on to it, it'll be yours forever. But in the act of possessing it, you kill the very thing that made it alive.
The tragedy is that when you try to cram the infinite into the finite, you get this, a kind of reverse alchemy. You take the living, breathing gold of a story, of an idea, and by capturing it, you turn it right back into the dead, heavy lead of mortality. The magic just vanishes.
So, what happens after that first attempt to possess the spark fails? Well, the fear gets deeper, and in Act 2, that failure is used to build a prison, a beautiful, tempting, but absolutely deadly, gilded cage.
At this point, that internal fear, that Faustbusch Übermensch, it switches up its disguise. Now it starts wearing the mask of a pale redeemer. It whispers to the tired artist, the creator who's been struggling, and it offers this seductive false promise: absolute safety, freedom from all the chaos and risk that comes with creating something new.
And this right here is the treacherous bargain, what the text calls the Pharisees' paradox. The promise sounds amazing, right? Absolute safety, no more risk, no more possibility of failure. But look at the price tag. The cost is that your atoms are frozen in place. Your ability to change, to grow, to transform. You sacrifice all of it for this illusion of security.
And these are the very bars that make up that cage. Risk? That's just an illusion, it whispers. That heavy weight of your past successes, your established values, that's not a burden. It's armor. It keeps you safe. But what it really does is prevent you from ever entering the logic of the crucible, that messy, fiery process where real transformation happens. And the result? You end up in a state of eternal, safe, and creatively sterile obedience.
And that brings us to the third and maybe the most desperate act of control. If you can't possess the reflection in the mirror and the gilded cage can't contain the spirit, then the only thing left is to try and capture the very source of brilliance itself. Welcome to Act 3, Boxing the Light.
That inner fear shifts its mask one more time. It's not a savior anymore. Now it's a corrupted architect. It's convinced itself that true mastery doesn't come from creating with the light, but from containing it, from building a prison for a star.
And to pull this off, it uses a truly terrifying tool, the breath of the void. This is described as a freezing gale that doesn't just make things cold, it actively sucks the warmth and life out of everything, shattering the atoms of anything that dares to be in motion. It is the ultimate anti-creation weapon, designed to enforce a dead, static universe.
I mean, look at the sheer, tragic ambition here. The goal is to capture actual starlight, stick it in a heavy leaden box, and use it to power your own lonely throne, to have your own private sun. But the reality is the exact opposite of power.
It's spiritual entropy. It's the inevitable decay that happens in any closed-off system.
And this really drives home the heartbreak of the parable. The captured light, that captured inspiration, that big idea you locked away, it just can't survive. It turns to crumbling dust for one simple reason. It's being denied its most fundamental nature, which is to move, to shift, and to shine freely.
But, okay, after that deep dive into the darkness, the story takes a sharp turn. We are not doomed to this cage. We are not doomed to this box. Act 4 shows us the way out. It's called the Creator's Dance.
And here it is, the big revelation that flips the whole script. The Faustbuch Übermensch, this villain we've been following, it's not an external enemy. It was never out there. The source calls it an internal atavism, which is just a fancy way of saying it's a deep, primal, ancient part of ourselves. It is literally the personification of our own fear of our own inner darkness.
So what does this inner fear do? Its job is to stand guard over the grave of the rival. And the rival is the person we could become if we just took the risk. This fear demands that we stay still, that we be serious and heavy, that we mourn our potential instead of ever trying to realize it. But there is a path to freedom, and it has steps. First, you have to recognize this force inside you, this spirit of gravity. Then, you have to perform a Dionysian rupture, basically a rebellion of joyful movement. From there, you embrace what's called the gay science, a philosophy of joyful life affirmation. Do all that, and you can finally achieve the lightness of a creator.
So what on earth is a Dionysian rupture? It's a conscious, active refusal to stay still. It's choosing to literally dance upon the grave of that rival self you're so afraid of becoming. See, the antidote to that freezing, heavy seriousness isn't more seriousness. It's joy. It's chaotic, life-affirming movement.
And this is the real secret. You don't destroy the inner fear. You don't kill the spirit of gravity. By embracing joyful affirmation, you integrate it. You absorb its weight, and you transform it into something new. The fear becomes a part of a higher, lighter vision. You learn how to use its power instead of letting it use you.
And all of that leaves us with one last big question. Because this whole story, it isn't just some ancient parable. It's a mirror. It forces every one of us to ask, what potential version of myself am I keeping buried out of fear? Which rival's grave do I need to learn to dance upon to finally, truly be free?